Ivey, the poker legend, and his partner Cheung Yin Sun didn't just beat the casino, they broke it. The duo walked away from the Borgata in Atlantic City with a staggering $16 million. But here's the kicker. They didn't win it fair and square. That's right, they cheated. From Poker TV, I'm Nate Weaver, and today we're diving deep into one of the most infamous scandals in casino history. A secret tech. Sun had the trick, but Ivey had the key. Cheung Yin Sun, known as the Queen of Edge Sorting, was the brains behind a flawless card reading technique that left casinos scrambling. But even with her insane skills, she couldn't pull off a multi-million-dollar heist alone. She needed a partner, like Ivey, one of the most feared poker players on the planet. Why? Because while Sun had the knowledge, Ivey had the clout. Now let's be real. Sun couldn't just walk into a casino, demand special playing conditions, and expect no one to blink. But Ivey, he was poker royalty. Casinos would beg to have him at their tables. They bent over backwards to realizing those little requests were setting up their downfall. Ivey didn't just bring the fame, he brought the bankroll. We're talking about massive stakes, millions on the line. Her edge sorting technique was powerful, but without Ivey betting big, the payoff would have been peanuts. His deep pockets made the bleeding count. And maybe most importantly, he gave Sun cover. The Borgata never suspected a thing. She stayed in the background while he soaked up the attention, letting the real trick play out right under their noses. Together, they were unstoppable. Her razor-sharp skills and his high roller status made them the perfect storm. And for a while, it looked like they were untouchable. The 4 simple requests that cost millions. At first glance, it seems harmless. Ivey, the poker legend himself, asking for a few comforts at the Borgata Casino in Atlantic City. Nothing crazy, right? High rollers get special treatment all the time. But hidden inside those innocent-sounding requests was a setup so perfect, it left Borgata bleeding millions. Ivey's specific brand of cards, let him have a Mandarin speaking dealer so Sun could communicate secretly, rotate the cards 100 degrees before dealing, superstition, and keep the same deck of cards in play for the entire session. Borgata, desperate to keep a superstar like Ivey happy, didn't even think twice. They rolled out the red carpet, checked every box, and unknowingly handed him the keys to their vault. Each request was part of Sun's master plan. The brand of cards had slight, almost invisible imperfections. Rotating the cards made it easier for her to spot the flaws. The Mandarin-speaking dealer kept communication flowing without tipping anyone off. Hours to work their magic. What looked like a harmless VIP treatment turned into one of the slickest scams in casino history. All it took was 4 little requests, and Borgata never saw it coming. How the automatic shuffler made it all possible. One of Ivey's first harmless requests at Borgata, he wanted the cards shuffled by an automatic shuffler. Sound innocent? Yeah, it wasn't. It was absolutely critical to the entire scheme. Now, here's why. An automatic shuffler, unlike a dealer's hand shuffle, doesn't flip the cards. It keeps the cards facing the exact same way every time they're put back into play. And for Ivey and Sun, that was everything. By keeping the cards locked in the same orientation, she could spot tiny imperfections on the card backs. This was the heart of the edge sorting technique. Without the cards being flipped and mixed up, their advantage stayed intact hand after hand, hour after hour. The real genius? An automatic shuffler is marketed as a way to speed up the game, and also to make it fairer. So casino staff didn't even blink an eye at the request. They thought they were making life easier for a VIP, but instead, exactly what they needed to rip the place apart. Sometimes the simplest request is the most dangerous. The flawed deck that made millions. Ivey's second small request at Borgata, he wanted to play with Gemico cards, a brand the casino trusted, a brand players trusted. But what the Borgata didn't know was that Ivey and Sun were banking on one very important detail. Gemico cards had a tiny, almost invisible flaw. The backs of the cards weren't perfectly symmetrical. The average player, totally unnoticeable. But to Cheung Yin Sun, the queen of edge sorting, it was practically a flashing neon sign. By locking in these specific decks, Ivey and Sun could spot the difference between high and low cards without ever seeing the faces. One quick glance at the card back, and they had a massive advantage. The best part? Borgata thought nothing of it. Jemico was a trusted name. Nothing suspicious about asking for good cards, right? Wrong. In the hands of these two, those decks weren't just cards, they were money printers. Mandarin Mastermind. How Ivey and Sun talked their way to millions. A dealer who could speak Mandarin Chinese. So at first glance, it sounded like another VIP quirk, something casinos are more than happy to accommodate to keep the high rollers happy. But underneath that polite request, communicate in real time with Ivey without tipping off the casino staff. Speaking Mandarin allowed her to quietly guide the game, identifying key cards and passing along critical info, while the English-speaking dealers and the pit bosses paid no attention. Borgata just thought they were being accommodating. Instead, they handed them a private communication channel right at the table, and every whispered word was a piece of the puzzle falling perfectly into place. And because they might just be speaking to a Mandarin-speaking dealer, the casino staff didn't catch a single clue. The dealer can change the card order. Phil Ivey's final request might sound benign, but it was the deadliest move of them all. He asked that the dealer rotate the high-value cards 180 degrees during play. Simple, right? And that's exactly why no one at the Borgata, genius kicks in. By turning the high cards, Ivey and Sun could instantly remove flaws they were exploiting through edge sorting. And thanks to the automatic shuffler keeping everything perfectly aligned, those flipped high cards stay flipped, giving him a crystal clear roadmap of when to bet big and when to lay low. This wasn't just clever poker. This was outsmarting an entire billion-dollar casino system without ever touching the cards or breaking a single formal rule. The dealer, thinking they were just catering to another VIP's quirky request, unknowingly helped request an automatic shuffler, specific Jemico cards, a Mandarin-speaking dealer, and the flipped high cards created a perfect storm. Borgata was down $9.6 million. A London casino lost even more. And Ivey, he walked away without even technically cheating. But now the real question, were Phil Ivey and Cheung Yin Sun cheaters or just smarter than the casinos themselves? Let us know what you think in the comments below. How Phil and Sun got caught. Phil Ivey and Sun's $16 million edge sorting scheme was so well executed that it seemed flawless. But even the best laid plans eventually unravel. Their downfall came when the casinos, particularly Borgata in Atlantic City, started connecting the dots after reviewing the game footage and noticing some highly unusual patterns in the results. But what really tipped off Borgata was the string of winning sessions Ivey and Sun had during Baccarat. A game worth of 4 visits, they consistently racked up massive winnings, triggering the alarm bells. Curious about how this was possible? The casino took a closer look at their gameplay, a method behind the madness, edge sorting. The investigation began when Borgata reviewed the game footage and saw how meticulously Ivey's requests were being followed. Requests that, at first glance, seemed like harmless preferences. However, Borgata's security team noticed the precision with which Sun directed the dealer to rotate certain cards. Pair this with the insistence on specific decks and an automatic shuffler, and the picture started becoming clearer. Over time, it became obvious that these requests weren't coincidental. They were key components of the scheme. The final nail in the coffin came when Borgata scrutinized the cards themselves. They realized the specific decks in question had subtle manufacturing effects on their backs that were only visible when rotated in a certain way. Armed with this evidence, the casino pieced together how they had systematically manipulated the game. Although edge sorting wasn't considered a traditional form of cheating, it was clear that their actions violated the casino's standard gaming rules. And hey, we poured through all the facts of how Ivey and Sun cheated and got caught. So you better like and subscribe for more wild poker scandals. The legal showdown, Ivey versus Borgata. The legal battle that followed Phil Ivey and Cheung Yin Sun's edge sorting scheme was nothing short of legendary. After dollars, you better believe the house wasn't about to let that slide. What started as a couple of lucky nights quickly exploded into one of the most high-profile court cases in gambling history. In April 2014, Borgata filed a lawsuit against them, accusing them of fraud and cheating. The casino claimed that even though Ivey never touched the cards or physically interfered with the game, He manipulated the conditions in a way that fundamentally altered the nature of Baccarat. The translation? The house didn't catch on fast enough. So, now they were crying foul. Ivey, of course, Flawed defense was simple. He didn't break any rules. He didn't mark the cards, didn't collude with the dealer, didn't rig the shuffle. He just used his brain. It was no different than counting cards in blackjack. Sneaky? Sure. But illegal? Absolutely not. In 2016, the U.S. District Court in New Jersey ruled against him. Judge Noel Hillman decided that while he didn't technically cheat, he violated the spirit of fair play, which is baked into every word. Talk about a bad runout. Ivey appealed, arguing that Borgata should have known better. And after all, edge sorting wasn't a secret technique. And if the casino was sloppy enough to let it happen, wasn't that on them? The Third Circuit Court of Appeals didn't buy it. In 2018, they upheld the original decision, making it official. He owed the casino the full amount. And it wasn't just Borgata coming after him. Across the casino also refused to pay Ivey $7.7 million in winnings after pulling the same stunt. That case went all the way to the UK Supreme Court, and once again, Ivey lost. The ruling? Cheating, whether you touch the cards or not. The final verdict from both sides of the Atlantic was very clear. The house always wins. Eventually. The fallout for Phil Ivey. The fallout from Phil Ivey's infamous edge sorting scandal sent shockwaves through the Tiger Woods of poker. His skill, discipline, and quiet dominance at the table made him a fan favorite and a living icon. But after courts in both the US and UK ruled that his edge sorting escapades violated the spirit of fair play, that once pristine image took a serious hit. I didn't mark cards, touch the deck, or tamper with the game, but that didn't matter. The judges weren't buying it, and the damage was done. $1 million, including the $9.6 million in Baccarat winnings and an additional $504,000 he rolled into craps. Borgata even went after his assets in Las Vegas, freezing funds to get their money back. Across the ocean, Crockford's casino refused to pay out his $7.7 million win, leaving him with nothing but legal fees and headaches. And it didn't stop at his wallet. The scandal made casinos worldwide a lot more cautious. His golden boy status, the kind that once got him any deck, any dealer, any conditions he wanted, is now gone. Casinos are far less likely to grant special treatment to even the biggest names in the game, worried about getting hustled under their own lights. Still, through it all, Phil Ivey remains a monster at the poker table. We can only hope he keeps stacking chips, keeps crushing games, and reminds the world why he still stay locked into the latest poker controversies, biggest fails, and explosive moments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. From Poker TV, I'm Nate Weaver, and I'll see you next time.